Now, Ulrich Brueckner is a professor of European Studies at Stanford University in Berlin, who joins us now from the German capital. Good to see you, Ulrich. So this conference happening there in Berlin, what do you think that's actually going to achieve?
Well, this is not the regular fundraising mission that we often see. This is more about to build a solid infrastructure of countries that are willing to support Ukraine in the long run. So we will not end up with a number, but to discuss the different means, how funding could function, and to address problems on the spot, because, for example, the electricity grid urgently needs to be repaired while the fighting is ongoing. And all these important civilian and infrastructure questions need to be addressed by the international community.
You and I spoke just a few days ago during the EU Parliament elections, and now that we've seen the results, do you think that's going to change the European policies towards Ukraine in any way?
Well, the headlines around the world highlight that there is a right-wing swing, which I think is an exaggeration because on the one hand, yes, 16 out of 27 countries see an increase of right-wingers, but the European Parliament sees a very solid majority of those who want to continue with their support for Ukraine and also to re-elect most likely the previous Commission president. So there is a continuity. That's a good sign on the side of the European Parliament. What many analysts underestimated is the impact on a national level. Germany is weakened and France is weakened. And given that a lot of people first look at these two big powers in the European Union, it remains to be seen what kind of direction the European Council, the body of the heads of state and government, is heading towards.
Well, we know the European Commission, though, they've said today that Ukraine has actually fulfilled all those steps that the EU was asking of Ukraine. So now they want to start membership talks before the end of this month. How big of a step is that?
Well, I think like the conference being scheduled right after the European parliamentary election, this is another symbolic step, and it's a signal sent to the world that the Western countries stand united in their support for Ukraine. If you closely look at what the Copenhagen criteria, what a country has to fulfill to become a member of the European Union practically means, then it will take at least a decade for a country that is in peace and that can actually fulfill all these criteria. So opening negotiations, it's one thing. Closing it and then go through the ratification process of accession treaty is something completely different. But it's a powerful signal to the people in the country that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And if they feel like their future is in a membership of the European Union, then the European Union reaches out.
But do you think the European Union will be able to agree on things when it comes to Ukraine going forward? I mean, we heard from Viktor Orban when he was out voting this weekend in the parliamentary elections. He said the choice is between either pro-war or pro-peace. And his idea is that pro-peace means that Ukraine should reach a peace agreement with Russia. Pro-war, that's what the European Union are doing right now by sending more weapons to Ukraine.
Well, this is what populists try all around the world, to simplify complexity and make people be afraid of what the future might bring. This strategy of Orban led for the first time in 10 years to a loss of his majority. Another party that popped up in April, like just a month ago, won 30% in the European parliamentary election. And that shows that even populists who flirt with an aggressor like Russia cannot be sure that they will stay in power forever.
Ulrich Brueckner, a professor of European Studies at Stanford University in Berlin. Really good to have you here on the program as always. Thanks.
Thanks for having me. Bye.